Hey, how's it going, guys? Mackenzie right here, also known as Max HG Tutorials. This is part 2 of Swift 3 tutorial. So in this tutorial, we're going to be learning data types. Now, this is what we had before. We're going to delete it. If you guys don't have this, you guys can watch part 1 where we introduce variables and how to download Xcode 8 and all that good stuff. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking about data types and arrays. First thing first, before we get into the complicated stuff about arrays, we're going to talk about data types. So I'm going to write them in comments. We went over what comments are right there. So we have int, double, strings, arrays, and then we have dictionaries. So these are the most kind of data types. There is hundreds of them, but these are the ones that we're normally going to use when creating an app or anything like that. Keep in mind, there's just like billions of them. So we're just going to give you an example of all of them. Now, an integer is basically a number, a whole number. So that's what an integer looks like. I'm going to do a double right here. There you go. And after this, what we're going to do, I'm just going to put a comment saying this is an integer. So, and I went over in the first series what this means right here. Basically, this is the variable name and the type it is. And then you do equal and the value. So for the next one, a string, there you go. And basically what a string is just a whole bunch of text that you can put. So if this is your about for an app, your name, all that good stuff. Now, before we go on into arrays and dictionaries where things get a little bit more complicated, I'm going to give you a couple more examples of integers and doubles. So something I went over, but I didn't go over it too much, is you can't add two different data types. What I mean is I can't add double and whole. When I try adding them, it would crash. The reason is because it doesn't know if the outcome should be a whole or an integer. So when you add numbers, you want to make sure they're the same data types. Now there's something called casting, which you could do to force it to be the same data type. Now I'm going to give you an example of this. I'm going to add whole and double. Wow, I can't spell. I'm going to make it an integer. So the answer has to be an integer. And we'll do whole plus double. Now this will crash. As you can't see the console right now because the screen's blocked, but here you go. You see whole, double, it crashes. They're both not integers, so it doesn't know what to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to force this to be an integer. The way we do that is we surround it. We do int. So basically what we do, we call the int function, and we put the variable double inside. Now what this is going to do is going to force it. It's going to force it's going to force double to be an integer. Now this also works for many other things. You can do a double to an int, an int to a double to an int, all that good stuff. So you can convert data types. That's something that's really good about it as well. Now, something else you can also do, we'll give this a try. What if I have string number? So basically, let's say we're getting something from a database or something where the number one, for some reason, it's not coming out like this, but it's coming out like this. We want to get the value. This is when casting will help. Now, this is what you will do. You do for someone. We want it to be an integer because we're going to add a whole plus num1. this is going to crash once again. I'm going to show you guys the console. This is going to crash because there are two different data types. So what do you think we're supposed to do now? If you want, you could pause the video, give it a try. I'm going to take a guess and say you guys did that already. So what you do is we do the same thing we did up here. Int. And we put num1 inside there. Now, this is giving us a different error. The error is the value needs to be unwrapped. And basically what unwrapping means is that it's basically telling us, are you sure there's an integer in there? And the reason it's doing that is because you have something called optional values, which is what I wanted to go over next. An optional value means it may or may not exist. So this integer function has to take a number. And what this optional thing is saying is that I'm positive there's a number in there. So basically the program is trusting me when I put this unwrapping. So basically take off the optional because I'm positive there's a number in there. I'm going to give you guys an example right now of an optional variable. Optional. So this variable is going to be optional. It's going to be integer. And I'm going to put that little question mark right next to it. And then I'm going to put optional equals 1. Well, actually, I'll put it right here. I'm going to print this out. Optional. Now that I printed it out, as you could tell in the console right here, the output isn't 1. The reason is because I made it optional. So it literally it shows up the word optional. Now this could be some problems because if you want to display the number 1 and we forget to unwrap it, what happens is that we get this whole entire thing. Now, how do you think we unwrap it? If you take a look at this right here, we added the exclamation point to unwrap it before. So we could do the same thing now. We do that and it prints 1, exactly what we wanted. Now you guys have an idea of how optionals work. Let's give array a try. Now, arrays are a little bit more complicated. To explain arrays a little bit easier, I'm going to open my Photoshop and show you guys exactly how arrays work. So I'm going to pause the video and come back. Awesome. Now that I have my Photoshop open, I'm going to show you guys exactly what are arrays. I'm going to explain it this way, then I'm going to show you guys the code. So basically, an array, you guys could think about it as a basket. So let's say this is my basket. Keep in mind, I'm a programmer, guys. I can't code. I mean, I can't draw. This is my basket, and this array is going to be called A. There we go. And I have different variables or values that I want to put inside this basket. So let's say the number is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now basically what an array does is that I could put the number 1, then I put the number 2, 3, and 4, and all I have to do is call A and I get these values. Now the way, let's say basically A holds all of these. You can tell because they're all inside the basket. Now you're probably thinking, how do I get 1 or how do I get 4? Now how you get them by something called an index. I'm going to show you exactly what an index is right now. So an index is basically the order, basically this right here, that I put it in. In programming, you start from 0. So basically this order is I put this one in 0, and 1, 2, and 3. So if I call A0, I get 1, A1, 2, A2, 3, and A4. I mean A3 equals 4. That's basically what an array is. Also, you have to keep in mind, as you can tell, all of these are integers. All these are integers. So an array, basically an array can only hold one data type. It doesn't have to be an integer. It could be string, models, controllers, and anything as long as they're the same data types. So now we're going to go back to the code and put this to use. So we're going to do exactly what we did here in Photoshop. I'm going to delete this code. Actually, we'll leave it for now. And arrays. So if we look back at my beautiful drawing, we have an array called A. It's an integer, and it holds these values. So let's do exactly that. So we're going to do var A integer, and the difference in an array is that you basically make your basket. So this is the basket right here. And what this means is I'm using an array, make an array, or this is a data. A is an array of integers, or a basket filled with only integers. So what you do now, you put the same thing here, and we put the values. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, forgot comma right there. So now we put our values in it. So this right here equals what we drew before on Photoshop. Once again, I'm going to kind of explain it, what I said before. So A is the name of it. It's an integer, but it's a basket, so an array. So we put it in between brackets, and then we put our values inside here. Now, if we look at the side of our console, we see that it prints out our array. If we wanted to get the value 3, for instance, this is what you would do. Print A, you put the brackets, and then you put what index it is. Now, index, remember, is the order that you put them in. So if we look at our basket right here, index for 3 is, it's not 0, it's not 1, but it's 2, because it was this index belongs to number 3. I'm just trying to show it to you guys in a picture. Maybe it's easier to understand for you guys that are new to programming. There we go. And I'm gonna put here, I'm gonna disable this so you don't get too confused, and we get the answer 3. That's what we get to print out. That's basically what an array is. I'm gonna give you guys another example, good example of using an array with, I'm gonna delete this right here. Give you guys another good example of using arrays with a different data type. So this is going to be called B. We're going to do string. So how do you guys think we do string? Based on this example, as you can tell, first it's a string, and we put the brackets around it because it's a basket, or aka an array. And we're going to give it values. Now this, you can't just do this and keep typing, because there's strings. Remember, if you do that, then it's just different variables. What you do is Mackenzie Alvarez tutorials Swift. See this right here, they're all different strings, and they're inside this array called B. Now to get the value, let's say Swift and my first name, let's say we wanted to add those two into a string. So let's say we're going to call this string Swift. It's going to be a string. And what we will do is, we talked about what this means. Basically, it means print out an array, or print out a value. Sorry about that. Print out a value inside this string. So we wanted Swift, so that's going to be B, and that's 3. Index 3 if we count from 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's B, want to put a thing to separate it, and we wanted my first name, which is 0. Now if I print this out, we'll do print Swift. There we go. We get exactly what the values for each index. Now quickly, I'm going to go over what dictionaries are real quick. Dictionaries are exactly arrays except for calling an index a number, we can name it something. Now, these things you have to really practice them because these are things we're going to be using all the time in our apps. Arrays and index. So let's see. Let's give you a quick example of what I mean. So I'm going to create an index. I'm going to create a dictionary. Sorry about that. And I do the same thing, but this time what I do here is I put string in any object. Now what this means right here is that for the name or the string, let's say the name, the string called name, I want to give it a value that could be any object. I could put string or string, you could put any object. Basically means it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a number, or it doesn't have to be a string. I like using any object, but you can do string or string integer. I just like using any object. So for dictionaries. So basically anytime I display or use name as an index, I want the value Mackenzie to pop up. Anytime I use the index age, I want the value 20 to pop up. And anytime I put the value channel, I want the value max HD tutorials to pop up. Now this right here, oh, let's see what we have here. We have an error. Now that's fine. Let's see what it is. Now the error was Playground messing up. Sorry about that, guys. But basically what Playground wanted us to do is to make sure what the @ symbol is basically saying whatever this is, make it an any object. That's all it is. We just added any object behind all of this. And if you look at the side right here, we see it displays our array. So we're going to give an example real quick. So if I do print, and I do, let's say I want to display my name. Before in arrays, we'll use 1 or a number here. In a dictionary, you can't really do that. What you do is you use the index that you put in front of each value right here. So I'm going to put name. Now that I put name, I get Mackenzie. Now I get it as an optional because I'm doing this right here. But when we do this in an actual app, it's not going to ask for that. But to get rid of that optional, we already learned how to do that. And that's with unwrapping. Basically, you want to make sure, I recommend first print out your variables to make sure it is optional and to make sure there's a value inside of it. Because you will get an error or your app will crash if there's no value inside and you try to unwrap it. It will come out with nil and then your app will crash. So make sure there's values inside of it. But that's it, guys. This is a tutorial. Sorry for making it so long. I hope you guys enjoyed it. On the next video, I think you guys are ready for your first app. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to make a quick calculator iOS app. And I hope you guys liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe, comment below. And I hope you guys like my drawing as well. trying to explain arrays. But anyways, guys, enjoy the video. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. It's Mackenzie, and I'm out.